Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generation discussion on the fallout from Boruto chapter 79. And today I want to talk to you guys about one of the biggest elephants in the room that we are going to be getting answers for very soon, which is the fates of the Uchiha clan and the Hyuga clan, and whether or not they're going to be affected by Ada's shinjutsu. Now, this is something I've seen in the comment section. From the moment that Ada debuted in the manga and explained how her powers work, a lot of people began to ask, since the Hyuga and the Uchiha clan carried the kekkei genkai for the otsutsuki dojutsu, do either of them possess enough genetics in order to be immune to Ada's powers? Now that we have this global shinjutsu that erased everyone's memories of the true reality of the world itself, and it has them thinking that Boruto killed Naruto and that Kawaki is Naruto's son, a lot of people have asked about the Hyuga and Uchiha because they don't want Himawari to have to hunt down her brother, and because right now Sarada has shown that she's immune to Ada's omnipotence. So here's the thing, I started to not cover this despite the numerous requests I get each month, but when a buddy of mine, Arrows, hit me up privately and started asking this question and laying out reasons why, I knew that there was something about this that I might be overlooking, and I want to get this discussion in with you guys before the new manga chapter drops, because as always is the case, I read you guys comments, and sometimes in the comment section you guys actually change my mind even after a video's been posted. So what are the chances that the Hyuga and that the Uchiha are immune to Ada's shinjutsu, and how does this affect the story itself? Well, I can say with absolute certainty that the second question has a major answer, but we're going to start with the first question right now. What are the chances that the Hyuga and the Uchiha are immune to Ada's shinjutsu? Well, the belief is that due to the Hyuga inheriting the Byakugan eye, which is the base eye that every otsutsuki appears to have, there's the belief that the Hyuga clan and their descendants have enough genetics to be immune, since keeping the Byakugan eye is a pretty big deal. Until we got Boruto's anime where it made changes to the lore, there was never any indication that the Byakugan was something that someone had to actually awaken, but as we discussed in my video on why Naruto almost had a third child, there were changes made to the lore once Kishimoto realized that he forgot to give Boruto Himawari a Byakugan for Naruto chapter 700 and for the post credits for Naruto the Last. In Boruto's anime, we learned that there are some Hyuga who never awakened the Byakugan, which opens up the question of, will the Hyuga who did inherit the Byakugan gene actually be immune to Ada's shinjutsu, since in theory they should possess enough genetically to be immune? It's a very tricky slope in terms of the Hyuga clan idea, and the reason being because the Naruto manga did call the Byakugan the superior dojutsu over the Sharingan, with Kakashi even saying that the Sharingan can trace its origins back to the Byakugan, which we know to be true based off of that god-awful Kage filler arc in the anime. It all comes down to, do you believe that the Hyuga, after 1,000 years since Kage got her walls knocked in by some random human, do you think that the Hyuga have maintained enough genetics over 1,000 years to be immune? And there's an argument that the Hyuga might be special when you consider all the lore that we have for the franchise itself. So in Naruto's manga, we were told that the first generation of the Hyuga took steps to make sure that the bloodline remained as pure as possible, which when we look at the eras that Naruto's manga drew heavy inspiration from, the practices that clans undertook in order to make sure their bloodline remained pure included preventing the marriage of anyone from within the clan to someone from outside the clan, unless it was a highly desirable genetic trait that they viewed would actually strengthen the bloodline itself. When we look at Naruto the Last, in the novelization in particular, which is the full story for the movie that we saw, you have a scene where Taneri's father gave a very short monologue on the Hyuga being special, to a point where it was their duty to keep their eyes on the Hyuga clan using a hidden jutsu that allowed Taneri and his father to look down at the Hyuga clan from all the way up at the moon, using the chakra to see them despite neither of them having eyes themselves. So when you consider these two things, it does feel as if there's something special about the Hyuga clan that we haven't actually seen fully explored yet. Now with the Uchiha, it becomes even trickier. You could make the argument that based off of that filler that the Sharingan was a mutation that came from Hagoromo as Kaguya's child, and given that Kaguya herself came to Earth in the manga with a Rinne Sharingan, there is no pre-chakra fruit Kaguya in manga format. It's possible that this trait is a recessive trait that Hagoromo had passed down through his bloodline through Indra, whose bloodline became the Uchiha clan. clan. There's a chance their blood wouldn't be as strong in terms of its connection to the otsutsuki, but there is a connection there itself, but still strong enough to be immune as well. When we look at what Tobirama said about the Uchiha in Naruto's manga, it was stated that no other clan feels love in the same way that the Uchiha do, and we just happen to have a villain whose power is to control the hearts of others, in particular the emotion of love, and that shinjutsu that Ada used was only the surface level power of Ada's true power, which is omnipotence. Could Sarada and Sasuke be immune because their clan feels love in a different way, which means that the Uchiha aren't affected by Ada? It could be something worth exploring. Now, before anyone says anything about the Shin clones, they have the Sharingan, but they're actually clones of Shin. Shin was never an Uchiha. He's just an experiment by Orochimaru, so I don't think the Shin clones would be immune for that reason. Now, as I said before, I've paused on this point before, because if there's a chance that the Hyuga and the Uchiha could be immune to these powers, then why didn't Amato just say as much when discussing the truth about Ada? We know Amato plays his cards really close to the vest and he doesn't tip his hand, so obviously we can't put it past him to lie about something like this, but this feels as if it would be something that he would share, that the Hyuga and the Uchiha are immune due to the watered down otsutsuki genetics that they have. That's part of why I've always been on the fence with this, but sometimes the most obvious answer is actually the correct answer, and this is one of those things where it feels kind of obvious, so it might be the case. So what exactly would be the narrative impact if this does end up being the case? Well, in short, this would be something that the old folks out in the country used to call a barn burner of a development, because if both of these clans are actually immune, it means that 2 of the 4 noble clans of Konoha are immune to Ada's powers, and that bodes a huge problem. Momoshiki referred to it as being a shinjutsu that manipulates the chakra of a person to alter their mind. Basically, it's genjutsu on steroids. In this scenario, you would just so happen to have 2 clans that have the power to see chakra. The Sharingan can see chakra as a color, and most importantly can see the chakra flow of a person when it's being disrupted. The Byakugan can see the chakra network itself and chakra from within it, on top of seeing chakra as a color like the Sharingan. This means there would be 2 groups of people who would know that something is potentially wrong, assuming there is a constant flow of chakra disruption being done to keep the memories of those who are affected altered. If it's a one-time thing, unless there are remnants of the chakra itself, that makes them absolutely useless. However, there are Uchiha and Hyuga who are immune. It means that Boruto isn't alive, and if he leaves with the support of 2 of the 4 noble clans of Konoha, it begins the process of backing up whatever claims that he's made that something is wrong with the people of the village. While the Uchiha clan is only Sasuke and Sarada, Sasuke alone has enough weight with the top brass of Konoha to give room for pause to at least hear Boruto out. The same if Hiashi or Hanabi step forward, which if that happens, it likely means that we're going to be in a situation where Kawaki has to pull an Itachi the moment he learns the truth and break out that katana alongside the black Air Forces, the black laces, black gloves, and the black Scully, because it'll be time for him to get grimy to the point that he has to get gully like it's a summertime dispute that leaves bodies piling up on the streets. Narratively, there's a problem for Kawaki if it ends up being the case, and because he's supposed to be Naruto's son, his eyes are going to give him away every time. Allow me to explain why Kawaki's eyes are going to be so important here. It's just like when you see someone who's done a lot of hard drugs. When you look at their eyes, you know exactly when they're high if you know what you're looking for. Boruto's eyes, more than once, especially in the anime, they kind of beat your head over the head with it. They're being compared to someone with a warmth like the sun that fills you with hope. Kawaki's eyes, they're cold, which makes sense when you look at the meaning behind his name. Kawaki came from Kar, which means husk, which means it's something that isn't full, it's empty. Kawaki's name means dry, and not because his lips are always in need of some emergency medical chapstick jutsu being applied to them, but his name does mean dry, and outside of his obsession with Naruto, Kawaki hasn't necessarily been the most warm of people, so there's a good chance he exposes himself some kind of way. It's gonna end up being something where those who are too direct in their approach with Kawaki might end up getting balled up and found down the road somewhere, and Kawaki just blames on Boruto, but the ones who try to run away might end up in wheelchairs from getting chakra rods fired into their back. And the ones who realize what happened are going to be smart enough to hide the truth and have to play the waiting game and wait for the right moment to turn on Kawaki. Though I'm curious to know how you guys see this playing out. Are the Hyuga and Uchiha clan immune? Just like I did with the Minato video, I want to apologize to you guys for the sound of my voice. I'm sick as hell right now. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not even gonna front. I do not feel very good. So this is why my voice is completely dry. This is why it doesn't necessarily seem like I got the most energy. I feel like crap right now. But I know from some of the messages and from some of the emails I gotten from you guys that the content I put up on the channel, some of you guys are not able to walk and move. Some of you guys are bedridden, and you guys have told me that like the content and the chill atmosphere on the channel really does a lot for you. So it's the least I can do to try and at least put something up even when I don't feel necessarily the best, because I know it's someone out there that is in way worse shape than me. But at least we're all doing better than Konohamaru, who barely made it into the top 70 of Naruto characters. Like, Jesus Christ.